This week's show brought to you by Frank Shoup, Georgetown's big name in cars. Roosters, a fun casual joint. Georgetown Advantage Air, now locally owned and operated by Gene Thompson. Welcome everybody to the News Graphic Scott County Cardinals Coaches Show with Coach Jim McKee. I'm Kal Oakes. And Coach, we're here during the day, daylight. It's election day. Did you vote yet? There it is.
I would,
I wrote in James McKee, Georgetown, Kentucky.
Good. What for? President?
Yeah, president.
That's good. And I hope that a lot of people are out there voting today. And no matter what side you're on, you got to take advantage of your opportunity to express your voice in the process.
Yeah, we got to get past all that. I think we got to be willing to express our voice and not be afraid of what people around us think, and get back to having a conversation about these things.
Well, I don't always have the greatest knack for getting along with people. It's really something that I've tried to work on, how to get along with others a little bit better. But what I have found, Kal, is everybody gets along great until you disagree. Well, you're not always going to agree. You're going to have the ability as a coaching staff to sit down and say, do y'all maybe ever talk about the show and say, Kal, I think that's a dumb idea. And you're like, no, I think it's a good idea. Well, you come to an agreement. Right. And even if you come out on the losing end, you got to work forward for the betterment. So I agree.
It's one of those things that football teaches, right? We're teaching kids to maybe settle for things that they don't necessarily agree with, or learn to work as a team when maybe they're in the minority.
I do think that football teaches you a lot of life lessons, and right now where we are in the playoffs, really it's got to be completely about the team. We've had some injuries. Well, everybody has. Nobody's. You think anybody's going to bring us a pity party on Friday night if Kendrick can't play? No. If anything, the Connor coaches are going to be like, yeah. It's human nature. I've been there. So, we've got Glenn in the backfield some this week. And, you've got to do what it takes for your team to win and advance right now. It's kind of about the soul of a man. What's down in your soul? How bad do you really want it? Do you ever catch yourself getting guilty looking ahead, think about, well, that's what I'm going to do during basketball season, or I can't wait to watch this wrestler, or boy, Georgetown College has got who they going to play in the first round of the playoffs. I'm real excited about basketball after last night. Meet the Cards. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, if you better focus on today, if you want to win in the playoffs. If you're thinking about getting ready to start your baseball long toss program, you're wrong. And sometime you're going to be a senior, and you're going to be out there, and it's going to be your last chance. And really, people don't understand this, but and I'm for college football. I played college football. But for me, there was nothing like Friday night. And, the number of guys, even though I think we've signed 60-some guys since I've been here to have signed some form of a college football scholarship, how many of those guys have been multi-year starters and stuck it out for 5 years? Not very many. So you better take advantage of today and focus on beating Connor.
Talk about teams taking advantage of injuries. We see that at every level. If a guy gets hurt, what's the first thing the team does on the next play? They go after that person, especially when they're on the offensive side of the ball. You go after a defensive back or whatever. Teams are going to do that. Teams are aware of your injuries in this day and age. Right?
And you've got to be. We've got to put ourselves in a position where. We've tried to prepare them, have prepared them this week for it, that no matter who would be to go down in the game, we're fine to go on. And injuries are a part of all sports. Unfortunately, they're more a part of football, and you're going to have a few more injuries in football. So no, that's all part of it. And we definitely would get Kendrick back next week for sure if we can win this week. And he might be able to go there continuing to work. We're trying to get him ready for this Friday, but if he comes back, somebody else is likely to be out. You got to be ready to roll.
We've talked about that all season. You guys do that two-platoon thing all year long for a reason. That's by design, because you need to have guys ready for that moment when they're required to step in. Sometimes there's no warning.
Yeah, there's not, and by doing that, we've created quite a bit of depth for ourselves. And, you know, we'll definitely play Hudson and Colby on the defensive side of the ball this week. The weather's going to be cooler, and, you know, it's go time. I mean, I don't have any interest in thinking about next season. I'm 47 years old. I want to win today. Colby's a senior. I've known this group of kids that are seniors. You know, I've watched them play Pee-wee to middle school to freshmen, and I'm ready to win today.
Saw those guys play a little bit more. It was a cooler night up at Covington Catholic a couple weeks ago.
Quite a bit more.
It made a big difference. I thought your defense had a different identity to me watching it than it normally does with those guys out there.
Well, you know, and that's why we did it at Covington Catholic. Somebody will say, "Oh, Coach, you're nuts. It's intense." You know, you can't prevent every injury, and we can't expect Colby and Hudson to go out there and play defense for 30 or 40 or 50% of the snaps this Friday, having not done it. You know, just all of a sudden say, "Okay, Cal, you're not instead of sports, you're government and business or whatever," and you'd be like,
no thanks, not on election day or any other time of year. Talk just a little bit about Connor. That's obviously it's a big step up from J-Town. There's no denying that as far as the competition level. What do they do well, and what do you have to guard against?
Well, you know, I think the best thing about the Connor football team, based off the film that I've watched, and I haven't seen them play live, is, you know, they're very solid in every phase of the game. Sometimes you can watch a film or break down an opponent or have a district opponent, and you'll kind of always know in your mind, well, Kal Oakes High, you know their defense is not going to be very good. We'll rip through Kal Oakes High D. Or you say, hey, you know, we know Bryan Station is going to be dynamic on offense and throw it everywhere. You know, when you look at Connor and what they do, you know, they don't have an end zone kicker, for example, but they have a systematic plan of how to still successfully kick off. And, you know, every phase of their game is solid in that manner. There's nothing that you look out there and say, man, that's unsound. I can't believe they're doing that. And, you know, I have respect for all of our opponents because I'll tell you what, you know, the kids from J-Town, the coaches from J-Town, we don't know about the circumstances that they're dealing with on a daily basis, the amount of money they have to spend for their program, the amount of interest in their program, the amount of assistant coaches, the facilities they have to work with. And so just like J-Town and Connor and everybody that will play, we have a lot of great respect for them.
It takes a lot of time to build something like, you know, has been built here at Scott County. I mean, sometimes we take that for granted, and it doesn't happen overnight. You know, some of these schools, as you said, it's a long process that maybe they're not at the same place on the growth cycle.
Well, you know, I think when you look at college football right now, do you really believe that Chip Kelly forgot how to coach offense, or Brian Kelly forgot how to coach offense at Notre Dame? He still knows how to coach offensive football.
It's about who you got.
Because Charlie Strong has no idea how to coach defense anymore. I mean, he was praised. And look at, you know, Charlie Strong's building a team at Texas. I mean, they've got a very young roster. It's just a question: is 7-5 or 8-4 going to be good enough to give him another year? And believe it or not, because Houston's lost a couple games, Tom Herman's not so in vogue right now. So that might actually help. Every time Houston loses, Charlie Strong has a better chance to keep his job.
And every time Charlie Strong beats one of those teams that he has to beat. You know, there's certain teams on your schedule, you beat them. If Texas beats Oklahoma and Texas Tech every year, Charlie's probably going to be all right at 7-5.
So, you know, I think that to think that, does coaching make a difference? And can you make an immediate difference? Like the guys just resigned at Clark County. Could I go over there as the head coach and make an immediate difference at Clark County High School? Probably if everything was the same that it was with him this year, probably not. Probably what we got to have is more players, more money, more assistants, more emphasis, more turf, more weights, and a little bit of patience. And we don't live in a very patient society. You know, we've had guys, I would say kids are almost identical as to when I started in 1992, fall of 92. And compared to the fall of 2006. What's different are parents. Now, I don't interact with parents very much at all because I am a parent. I sit in the outfield of Cade's baseball games, and if Coach Willard's not playing him, I'm like, Willard, you're nuts. Get Cade in there. I didn't come all the way up here to watch so-and-so play. I want to see Cade play. So I know how parents are. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not loving. They are loving, and they're good parents. But I think what has changed is the thought process, what you're talking about. All of a sudden, we're going to be great. And you're right, we've been here 20 years, and we lose 2.
You wouldn't want to go back. If somebody told you right now, you have to go back to what you had for a system in 1999, you wouldn't want to do that. You work too hard to build what you got.
Yeah. And we lose 2.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no guarantee we're going to win on Friday. I reminded our kids of what happened in 2014. I mean, I did not think that we really, as a team, respected Meade County enough going into that game that night, and we lost. And we were home in the second round, and it's no fun. Part of what we have built here and part of what goes on at Notre Dame or Texas or wherever, it doesn't matter if you're at Mayfield High School, a 2A school, or the University of Notre Dame, or somewhere in between. Georgetown College, for example, in the NAIA football, I mean, they expect to go to the playoffs. So if they don't go to the playoffs, or if it looks like they're not going to go to the playoffs, then they got a problem. They're thinking, we got a problem. We got to do something different. Play some different people, recruit some different people, have different coaches, whatever. And so that's kind of what it is here. I mean, our fans, and I have guarded our kids and fans against, we're not going to blow everybody out every game. We're going to have a war on Friday with Connor. And if we can win the game 14-13 or 56-55, I'm going to turn the water bucket over, and I'm going to be thankful that we've given an opportunity for these 80 youngsters to play in the regional finals next week.
That's a wrap from Coach. He mentioned the injury to Kendrick Hamilton. We spoke with trainer Dan Volpe about injuries and what the trainer's role is in a journey like this. Let's see what he had to say. We're here with Dan Volpe, the trainer, and Dan, your role on this team is one that you probably hope to not have a role as the season goes along, right?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but the less work I have, the better. especially this time of the year.
And you've been through it the past few years. It seems like the Cardinals have had some key injuries, and for the most part, been able to avoid that big catastrophic one.
Yeah, we have. You're always going to have your injuries. I mean, it's football. You can't escape it. You just have to manage it the best you can.
As a trainer, you're the guy that everybody wants to see, but sometimes do they want to fight with you a little to get back on the field a little quicker?
Yeah, they do. They fight me a little bit, but in the end of the day, you have to leverage, making sure that they're going to be productive on the field and they're not going to get hurt again. So, there's a fine line there. So you have to balance that. And every injury is different. Some are going to take a few days, some may take a little longer. So, it's just that balancing act of, when they can go and when they can't.
How much has sports medicine and sports training and things like that evolved just in the years since you've taken over this job? It seems like one of those things that we know so much more about exponentially as years go by.
Well, I think you know more just because of media these days. ACL injuries is what everybody hears these days, but I think it's just, MRIs are better, and you get to see them more. I don't think there's not a lot more of them, you just know more of them now.
So there's more technology.
Yeah, the technology in healthcare is what's brought, the ACL to the forefront.
Football's really become, and all sports really are, a year-round entity. As the trainer, how much do you get involved with the fitness aspect of it, the weight room stuff? Talk about that a little bit.
I really don't get involved with that here because when football's done, even this year, if we go as far as we plan on going football-wise, football games have already started. So I go from one season to the next. So the coaches here they're responsible for their strength and conditioning stuff in the off season, just because I'm going from one sport to another. So
it's unique dealing with a lot of the same athletes too. You have a lot of crossover between football and basketball. For instance, last night we saw Meet the Cards, and some of these guys were there, and it must be a challenge for them. And you're probably using different muscles and different everything.
Yeah, it's a challenge. I mean, this is the last 2-3 years is our most two-sport athletes in terms of football and basketball. So it is a challenge because they need to be out here football-wise, but they feel like they'll fall behind basketball. But you don't want to do too much, but you don't want to lose what you got, in terms of either sport.
Is it fun just to be someone that's along for the ride for these things? I know as a reporter, I love when teams are in the playoffs and going for a championship. You feel like you become part of it in a way. I'm sure it's the same for you.
Oh, yeah. You know, if I'm the guy that's just sitting in the background doing nothing, that means it's a great day for no matter what sport here at Scott County. So, I mean, the less I do, the better. But, you know, when I have to work, you know, I'm going to do whatever I can do to get that player back on the field.
Well, I hope you folks enjoyed meeting another person behind the scenes that makes the Cardinals tick. We also spoke with Brance McKinney, one of the players. Let's see what he had to say about this week's matchup.
The Cardinals were able to keep their focus in a one-sided first-round game against Jeffersontown.
Just thinking about that ring and thinking about getting there, it just really keeps you focused on winning and staying together and working together.
Connor High represents a much tougher opponent this week.
In this time of the year in playoffs, I mean, everybody's going to be good, but we believe that we're better, and I mean, I know we're better. We should go out there and just do it like last week and the week before and keep on rolling.
The Cardinals are happy to have at least one more game at home.
Anytime you play at home, it's a bigger advantage than playing away. You get your fans there and same atmosphere you're used to, and it's nice.
The Scott County seniors know that any game right now could be their last.
I mean, even if it is the last time, I'm not prepared to give this up, and I want to keep rolling until I get that ring. And if I don't make it, then I know I gave everything I could to get it.